The Department of Justice has announced federal charges against 3 people in a thwarted Iranian plot to kill former President Donald Trump and President-elect before the presidential election. This is a newly discovered plot, and 2 of the people charged are U.S. citizens.
We have CNN's Evan Perez following the story. Also with us is CNN military analyst, retired Colonel Cedric Leighton. And first to you, Evan, what more are you hearing from the DOJ?
Well, we know that 2 of these people are already in custody. These are people who were working with what prosecutors say is an IRGC operative, essentially, somebody who recruited these folks when he was serving time in U.S. prison. And the leader of this alleged plot, according to prosecutors, his name is Farhad Shakari. He is 51 years old. He is back in Iran, is obviously not under arrest. And according to prosecutors, he was tasked with recruiting people who would be able to carry out assassinations in the United States, people who were on their list of enemies. One of them, of course, is somebody who was a dissident, someone who was a critic of the Iranian regime. We don't know the name of that person. That person's not identified in here. But according to prosecutors, these 2 men followed this person and were essentially trying to figure out ways, their comings and goings, to make sure they knew where exactly they could carry out this assassination. Now, the one that obviously sticks out to all of us is a plot that Shakari was tasked with on October 7th, according to prosecutors, to try to carry out an assassination of Donald Trump. Obviously, this is before the election. It's not the first attempt by the Iranians, according to the FBI, to do an assassination against Donald Trump. Also on the list were 2 Jewish U.S. citizens, according to prosecutors in New York. Again, he was trying to pay $500,000 to carry out these assassinations. And also Israeli tourists in Sri Lanka were on the IRGC list. Again, all of this, according to prosecutors, part of a broader effort by the Iranians to target dissidents, people, enemies that the Iranians have on their list. Of course, you remember back in the summer, there was a Pakistani man who was arrested. He was sent here specifically, according to the FBI, to try to find people to carry out an assassination against Donald Trump, against other people, including people inside the current administration, and to do surveillance, essentially, and information collecting for the IRGC.
Colonel Leighton, what stands out to you about this news, and how do you think the effort by Iran to sort of recruit or outsource this effort would have worked? Would that have been an efficient plan?
Maybe not the most efficient plan, but it's very typical of the Iranians, Boris. And one of the things that they do is when they go after certain targets, like a prominent politician or somebody who is on their target list, like Israeli tourists, they're going to find others to do it. It's basically the same method that they use with Hezbollah and with Hamas, use proxy forces. So this is a microcosm of that. What they're trying to do on the Iranian side is they're trying to go in and in some ways have plausible deniability, at least initially, when it comes to assassination attempts like this. But it's also, as Evan was mentioning, these are intelligence collection efforts with a purpose, with a goal in mind. They're basically preparing the battle space, so to speak, for these actions. They want to know movements, they want to know who's going where, what their targets are doing. And when they do that kind of thing, there's a lot of intelligence that they have to collect in order to be successful. And these particular suspects are ones that would have been recruited by the Iranians. They probably have an ideological bent that favors the Iranians, and they're using that in order to actually go after these targets. So if they were to be successful with that, of course, it would have a major implication for U.S. policy in the Middle East, would have major implications for our military force posture and many other things.
This can be traced back to the targeted killing of Qasem Soleimani, the Quds Force commander, back in 2020. I believe it was.
Actually, 2020.
And just before Trump left office.
Just before he left office, just a few weeks before he left office. And Iran, I don't think we can overstate, I'm sure for a lot of Americans, Soleimani was not a household name, but for Iranians, he was. And so this is something that Iranians, the Iranian government, they feel every day. They feel constantly this thing that America did. And yet, are you surprised that it has resulted in this reaction?
Not at all,
Really?
because, and the reason I'm not surprised that the Iranians have a long memory, and now that Trump is once again the president-elect, he is even more of a valuable target to the Iranians. And in essence, what they're trying to do is they're trying to seek revenge. Killing Soleimani would have been like killing Colin Powell. Something like that, on that level of magnitude. And the reason...
When he was at his apex of power in government.
Exactly, when he was at his apex of power in government. And if you do something like that, Trump ordered that killing, and the Iranians see that as being something that he is responsible for, and as a result of that, not only was Trump on the target list, but people like former National Security Advisor Bolton was also on that list. And has protection to this day because of that. So those are the kinds of things that the Iranians, are continuing to look at. They're seeing this as being, a continuation of their policy. They are using asymmetric warfare on us in many different ways. This is one aspect of it. There are other aspects, including cyber activities, and of course the proxy activities that Hamas and Hezbollah have been conducting for years in those areas.
Right, and keep in mind, I mean, obviously, a lot of people focus on Russia and China as the biggest adversaries of the United States, but the Iranians are quickly trying to catch up, and they are doing things, including, as you just pointed out, I mean, during the recent election, they were targeting the Trump campaign. They hacked into the campaign. They tried to get documents out, disseminate them to try to embarrass the campaign. Not only are they trying to kill people associated with the former Trump administration, but also people associated with the current administration, with the Biden administration. And a lot of it is this view of retribution for what they view what the United States has been doing and what the Israelis have been doing in Iran and in the region. So that's part of what the story here is. And they've said publicly, by the way, that they are planning still to seek revenge for the killing of Soleimani. They say they haven't gotten it, and they will keep trying. And so that's the issue here for the FBI, is that these things they know will keep happening.
And putting this out there now, at this time, while the Secret Service is undergoing somewhat of a renovation or a reimagining to some degree, is notable. It sends a message.
It does. I mean, look, for the Secret Service, for the FBI, the fact that he is now president-elect changes the way they protect Donald Trump. It's already changed. He's going to have military assets now to help protect him. So there is a lot more protection for Donald Trump. It was already changing after the second attempt on his life, and so obviously when he's president, you have even more protections, and that is going to change forever how they protect Donald Trump, because they know, as you pointed out, the Iranians have a long memory. They're not going to let this go. And as the former president, he has said that he wants to go after the Iranians in their pressure campaign. That's going to be part of his foreign policy coming when he takes office.
All right, Evan, Colonel, thank you so much for both your insights in this very important breaking news. A newly disclosed plot that marks yet another alleged attempt on President-elect Trump's life by Iran's regime.